In this video, we are going to discuss different certificate in Cisco ISE. Certificate is a huge topic. I don't want to go in detail how it is work and each and everything, but at least you need to know certificate is a signed document, is a digital signed document that represent an identity. An identity we know we discussed before. You can say certificate is like a passport. It's like your driving license. It's like your ration card. It's like any other type of identity. Okay? It's like a personal identity card. That identification card is representing you, and it's proof you are who you say you are. Means it's your identification. Like in real world, when we going to any other country, we need to use a passport, our own passport. We use driving license inside in our country. We use any other things. We use in Saudi Arabia using Iqama card to prove yourself. Same as in digital world, you need to use a certificate to prove yourself. The identity, it can be a user and it can be a machine. Certificate also contain public key, and they use this public key. Why? So that anybody who want to encrypt data, they can use this public key, and then you can use to decrypt them. Normally we use certificate in our network for secure access. We can use certificate and Cisco Identity Service Engine for endpoint to do secure communication with Cisco ISE, and also we use certificate to log into ISE securely, and also we use certificate between ISE node. So we can use certificate for many purposes in Cisco ISE. First certificate which we use in Cisco ISE is admin certificate. Admin certificate is used inter-node communication and authentication of admin portal. So whenever we try to log in like this one, when I try, so this says certificate is invalid because I'm using the default Cisco ISE certificate, and my browser don't have to identify this certificate. That's why they give me this error that the CA root certificate is not trusted, because in my browser I don't have the CA root certificate. I show you many times that if you go to your browser, by default there are many certificates. So if I go to security and if I go to manage certificate, so these are the trusted root certificate, and here I don't have the CA for this Cisco ISE. That's why they say the CA root certificate is not trusted. So my browser will give this error. So if you want to remove this error, you need to install admin certificate. So it means admin certificate is a server certificate used to authenticate or secure communication with ISE. So when you install, you can use local certificate authority to install, and when you try to browse this one, so there will be no error, but you need to install the same CA in your browser as well, which we will do in next lab. This is just theoretical. So if you want to remove this error, so whenever I try to log into this ISE, so they are giving me this error. Let me log in again from here, and if I try to log in, you see it will give me this error. If it is a new browser, even it will give it a certificate error. Let me go to another browser to show you. Let me type here, you will see the error, this one, potential security risk. And normally we click advanced and this the certificate, and we say accept the risk and continue. Then we try to log in. That's what we do. But you can remove this error. For this type of error to remove, you need to use admin certificate. To do a secure communication, it's like this my browser. I just open this ISE. You see this one? So it will be like a encrypted client server communication, and that's what I am getting error because I did not install this certificate. So this is the first certificate in Cisco ISE, and also we use this certificate to establish trust relationship, secure communication between ISE node. One ISE to another ISE. They are also using a multi-node deployment. They are also use the same certificate. And the one we normally say admin certificate, whenever you browse ISE and graphical user interface, so for that purpose you will get an error. So that's why you need to install this admin certificate, and I show you here as well. That's why I'm getting error, and I show you in another browser as well. And if the client trusts the certificate, so SSL TLS tunnel will be formed. Like in normal case, when I try to open any website, so every website they are using this certificate. So they say this certificate is valid because the certificate they are using is issued by Google Trust, and Google Trust is in my browser already. So we establish a secure communication certificate. So if I go to security and if I go to manage and here trusted root, so there will be Google, there should GoDaddy. This is GoDaddy. GoDaddy is very famous as well. So if I go to, it should be, and it should be Google. This is global sign. I need to double check what was that one. So it will be here. If I go to certificate and if I go to issuer, this is issue to this one. I need to check the, okay, it's better to check from general, issue to Google, and who issue them. There is another file. Go to in detail and let me see detail. So this is the version 3, and let's see who issued this one. These are all the detail about this certificate. Okay, these are the DNS entries, and this the, okay, let me see this one. Oh my goodness, why it's not giving me full detail? Let's issue this the root certificate, and the detail has to be here. Anyway, let me see another one. It's easy, like a Facebook. The one I just need to show you that how it is work. So like this one is a DigiCert. So DigiCert was there when we check, and this certificate and trusted root, so DigiCert is there. Yeah. So this is the first certificate which we use it in Cisco ISE for secure communication. When we open the admin portal, so we need a admin certificate, so there will be no issue, and they will, the client and the client browser and the Cisco ISE admin portal will make a TLS and SSL secure tunnel. Otherwise they will give an error, and you need to click on that error, and then you can open the Cisco ISE admin portal. And this is what I told you, they will show you a warning, and I show you the warning, and then you need to proceed without that one. And this how it is work. So this is the first certificate which we use in Cisco ISE. Second certificate is EAP authentication certificate. EAP certificate nearly used by every EAP method like EAP TLS, PIF and EAP fast. All of them are using certificate. These methods are using also certificate. If you want to authenticate client, supplicant, endpoint and device securely through certificate, so you need EAP authentication certificate. These certificates are here in Cisco ISE. So if I go to let me go back to administration, and this is system and certificate. These are the certificate. Same like a browser, so there is also trusted certificate. We will discuss a bit later, but anyway. And the certificate which we install, we did not install, we install in the other one. It will be here. Like you see the default one, they are using this for EAP authentication, for admin, for portal we will discuss these, and Radius DTLS. So the same certificate can be used for multiple purpose, so you can see here. But the one which we are talking about is EAP authentication certificate. So this certificate can be used for EAP authentication as well. Okay, so this certificate is specially for client and supplicant when they want to do communication with Cisco ISE, so through certificate. So we can use this EAP authentication certificate. And how it is work, so that's the way it is work. So this the client, they will send to a net. It can be a Cisco switch, it can be a wireless LAN controller. Okay, so they will send, and then the certificate they will reply, and this way the client will be authenticate through certificate. Another certificate which we can use in Cisco ISE is portal certificate. If we go there, okay, so portal is also mentioned. The same certificate can be used for portal as well. Okay, so portal, there are many portal as we know. Okay, so whenever someone want to log in the portal, there are many portal, by the way. There is guest portal, central web authentication portal, sponsor portal, my device, which is bring your own device one, certificate, and so many other which we will discuss later in the course. So these are the certificate like a sponsor portal, guest portal, and guest portal, sponsor portal. All these portal also use a certificate for secure communication. Again, you need a certificate for this purpose as well in Cisco ISE. If you want to secure this, normally we use for guest public certificate, because guest is normally coming from outside, so they need a public certificate. Same like when you go to Google everywhere, so it will not give an error because we are using public certificate. Anyway, that is a different topic, but at least you get the idea that we need a certificate for portal as well. And again, you can see the same certificate which we can use for portal. In the lab, I will show you, we will import and we will generate a certificate, and we will use them for EAP authentication, we will use for admin, and we will use them for portal as well in next video. But right now we are just discussing a different type of certificate. One of them is portal certificate. Okay, another certificate is PX Grid certificate. If you configure your Cisco ISE as a PX Grid controller, right now I believe if I go to deployment, and if I see PX Grid is not enabled by default. Yeah, it's enabled, by the way. So PX Grid is enabled. If you want to use this services, this persona PX Grid, then if you want to integrate different third-party devices, so again you need a separate certificate which can be a PX Grid. So PXGrid is a client server certificate used for establish secure communication between PXGrid client and server. Like if you want to integrate third party devices with Cisco ISE, either you want to integrate even FTD, either a WSA, ESA, VPN, and so many other things when you want to integrate. So again, you need a PXGrid certificate through PXGrid if you want to enable and you want to use PXGrid. So it will work like this. So again, you need a certificate for this purpose. Then beside a certificate, let me tell you one thing more. There is a wildcard certificate as well. Wildcard is nothing but is using a notation. Notation is asterisk they are using. So basically this certificate can be shared across multiple hosts in your organization. Like suppose in my lab we are using test.local domain. So if I generate a certificate with star and dot test.local, so this certificate can be used anywhere. Like suppose it can be used like a AAA test.local, it can be PSN test.local, it can be my device test.local, it can be sponsor test.local, it can be guest.test.local, and so many other. If you go to Udemy, so they are also using a star with dot wildcard. So if Udemy has many websites, at the end, if they are ending with udemy.com, they can use the same certificate. This type of certificate is called wildcard certificate. So if I go back to certificate, I need to go back to certificate. Okay, because I did not import any certificate, I'm just showing you. And let me see this certificate and view them. It's a wildcard or not? I can't be. No, it's only this one. Okay, but if I go to Udemy, suppose many websites are using wildcard certificate. They have some advantages and disadvantages, but you can use them. So if I go to certificate, let's see. Yeah, here is. So you can see it's a common name is star. Star means it can be used anywhere. Any device, anything which ending with the udemy.com. So we can also generate a certificate which can be used. Suppose in this case, this is my normal system, I give google.com, but in our lab we are using test.local. So we can create a wildcard certificate. When you click import, so there will be allowed wildcard. You can see here allow wildcard certificate. So if you click here, so it's also say server certificate can be utilized that include wildcard and common name. And it's also mentioned here star in the leftmost label identifier. So it can be used in my entire domain test.local whenever I need. So you can click this one. So basically allowed wildcard certificate when you import. And these are the certificate which we were talking when you import. For which purpose you want to use. Admin, use certificate to authenticate ISE admin portal. Like now I'm logging. If authentication, we discussed this one. Use certificate for e-protocol that use SSL and TLS tunnel. And this one we will discuss a bit later. PXGrid we discuss for PXGrid controller. And there is ISE messages services and SAML as well, and portal we discuss for any type of portal, so you can use. So this thing you need to remember, wildcard certificate. Now coming to our certificate, another certificate is Radius DTLS. Radius we already know and we will discuss in detail later in the course. Datagram transport layer security, because Radius using UDP. So datagram transport layer security certificate. You can use Radius DTLS certificate to use for encryption and encrypting Radius traffic between network access device and Radius server, in this case Cisco ISE. So if you want to secure communication between your wireless LAN controller, your switch, and your Cisco ISE between the devices to encrypt the radius traffic, then you can use radius DTLS. This is another certificate. And when we go to ISE, it's also mentioned here. It's a radius DTLS, use certificate for radius security. So there is another type of certificate. It means radius DTLS method used to authenticate network access devices like a wireless LAN controller, like Cisco access layer switches, with certificate instead of using password. Rather than to use a password, we can use a certificate as a secure mechanism. And I already give an example like access devices, like access switches, wireless LAN controller, and VPN client as well. We can use this radius DTLS certificate. Now another certificate is system certificate. The certificate associated to individual ISE node is called system certificate. These are server certificates that identify Cisco ISE node to client application. Every Cisco ISE node has own system certificate, which are stored in node along with corresponding private key. So this is called system certificate. And where are they? These are the system certificate. Let me say okay. And here is by default many certificate. You can export them, which we already know how to export the certificate, and we can import them as well. And next day we will import a certificate here to use our own. But right now you can see they have some default system certificate. And this is associated only to this ISE node. And we use this certificate to identify Cisco ISE node to client application, which we discuss. Next is trusted certificate. Certificate authority ISE trust them, like in our browser. In our browser we have already many type of this one, trusted root certificate. So the same as in Cisco ISE as well. These are this trusted certificate. You can see they have a lot of trusted certificate as well. These are certificate authority certificate used to establish trust for the public key received from user or device. We use this trusted certificate for whenever we receive public key from a user or device. And normally we store these certificate in our primary administration node. In this case I am using standalone device. But in distributed deployment, it will be automatically replicated to all the nodes in Cisco ISE. So you don't need to install trusted certificate in all devices, and distributed deployment will be replicated automatically. You just need to put them in primary administration node and pane. So this is trusted certificate, just like in browser. And we use this for whenever we receive public key from user and devices. Another certificate is OCSP client profile, Online Certificate Status Protocol. This is the abbreviation. We use this OCSP client profile to check the CA for revoke certificate. We use this for revoke certificate. So this is basically a protocol that used for checking the status of digital certificate. You can use them to check the status and to revoke status. So it means this the alternative protocol in Cisco ISE, which we normally use certificate revocation list. And if we go there, you will see here OCSP client profile, Online Certificate Status Protocol. So this is the certificate where you can see the status of revoked certificate. and address issue that result in handling the certificate revocation list. Another certificate is certificate signing request. Template to create signing request with CA. Again, in next lab we will do this one. For certificate authority to issue a signed certificate, you must create certificate signing request to submit to your certificate authority. So basically we use certificate signing request whenever we need to sign a certificate. So then we need to sign the request, and here we need to sign the request. Certificate signing request we need to create, and we need to generate certificate signing request. Click on this. They say for which purpose you want to use. For admin we discuss, for EAP authentication, for DTLS we discuss, portal we discuss, PX grid, SAML and ISE messaging services. For which purpose you can choose multi-use as well, and this multi-use is display. These are all type of certificate which we discuss. So you need to type the detail of organization in each and everything, and then subject, alternative name, etc. And then you can say generate a certificate. And when you generate a certificate, then you need to download this and you need to send to CA. So for that purpose we are using certificate signing request. To obtain signature from certificate authority, you must export the CSR and then send certificate to CA. The CA sign and return, and then you will bind them, which we will see in the lab. I click on but it will give me an error because we need to fill all these details. Let's see if can generate is. Then you need to bind. When you click here, it will show you the certificate which you generate. Right now I did not generate. Anyway, when you generate, it will show you here. We will see in the lab. And then you need to bind them. When you need to choose, and there will be bind certificate. Yeah. When you export them and then you send them to certificate authority. So for that purpose we using this certificate signing request. Then certificate authority, you can set up your Cisco ISE as a certificate authority. In this case we are sending to certificate authority, but you can use Cisco ISE as an internal certificate authority to issue and manage digital certificate for endpoint from centralized location. And that one is here, certificate authority. You can issue the certificate internally, you can export them, so it's like a certificate authority. So you can use Cisco ISE as a certificate authority as well. So these are the different type of certificate we just discussed theoretically. At least you need to know. Then in next video which we will do, we will import the certificate, we will generate the certificate, and we will remove this error, this admin portal error, and later on we will use the certificate for device authentication as well. So this was related to certificate.